John Fredericks Radio Network. Joining us now, he had a fabulous speech last night at the Republican convention. It was knock your socks off. Jack Brewer is back with us. Jack Brewer back. Hey, Jack, great to have you, man.
Man, great to be back on the show. How you doing?
Hey, Jack, that speech last night was a barn burner. I tell you what, it came right from the heart. You had a lot of things in there. What inspired you to do that?
And my 8-year-old son, I had written 4 different speeches, and whenever you're giving a speech like that, you have a time limit. Obviously you're nervous. I mean, there's so many issues going on in our country right now that you want to speak about. And my 8-year-old son, looked at me, and before I walked out the door, and told me to give a message from him.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was so revealing to me of where our nation is and what our focus needed to be on. And the way that this evil media has tried to paint our president, I teach my kids that we pray for our leaders as the Bible teaches us, and I try to teach them these principles, and yet you have a media and you have all this division going on, speaking this hate, and it's confusing our babies, man. And for me, that's where my speech was coming from, and I hope it resonated with Americans.
Well, I think so. I'm going to read one excerpt of it. I don't really have time to play it because we've only got about 6 minutes left. You said, "I know what racism looks like. I've seen it firsthand. America, it has no resemblance to President Trump. I'm fed up with the way he's portrayed in the media, who refuse to acknowledge what he's actually done for the black community. It's confusing the minds of our innocent children." Jack, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, this president has passed more policies for African Americans and the uplifting of African Americans, opportunity zones that have brought $75 billion in the inner city areas that otherwise would never have gotten investment in. Criminal justice reform, the mass incarceration bills of Joe Biden and Bill Clinton literally locked up millions of black men for nonviolent crimes. And, this president is the one who came and repealed the horrible parts of that to start releasing thousands of black men back into their homes. And, on and on. I mean, HBCUs. So, what's important? Education. He goes into our black colleges and actually stabilizes them to make sure that they can pay their bills, be around to educate, black and African Americans coming out that's going to college. And now he's fighting as hard as he can for school choice to start letting these inner city kids, the same kids that you hear the Democrats say are underserved, well, the president's trying to get them a fair education, and they're holding it back. And so it's like on and on. What else can the man do? It's like you don't want to solve the problem. You just want power, and that's why I said, I mean, we gotta stop worrying and setting our eyes on someone's personality and start talking about the policies that are going to help our kids and our grandkids.
Jack, let me ask you something straight out. We're with Jack Brewer, featured speaker last night, night 3, the Republican National Convention, getting a lot of accolades for the speech he made. I thought it was the best speech of the night last night, Jack. I did. That's why I was anxious to have you on today, and thank you. Former NFL defensive back, Minnesota, Philadelphia, and he's now part of the organization called Black Voices for Trump. Is your message resonating, Jack, with the black community and black voters?
It is. You're never going to get everyone. But I tell you, man, 8 weeks ago, I was a little down. And what I've seen over the last 4 weeks, the transformation as mothers are watching cities burn and starting to understand what school choice even means, where our communication efforts on the ground throughout this entire campaign, it's working. The mainstream media is behind us. We're taking on a big giant, but we're using everything we can to get the truth and the message out to so many Americans. And I think that's why this convention was so critical. There's so many people that are tuning in that otherwise wouldn't sit around and listen to politics. They're trying to make these decisions in their homes. They see what's going on in our cities, and they don't like it. They don't like what it looks like. And, where the Democrats are taking black America is not where black America wants to go. And so people are going to stand up. I think you're going to see more African Americans vote for this president than any president in modern history. And I think, if we just continue to tell the truth, we have a record to run on. President Trump has given us so many policies that, it's not talking about what we're going to do. We can talk about what we've already done and how much we can do after if you give us 4 more years. And so I'm just excited to be a part of this, man. This is history, and we're fighting for the soul of our nation. And this president is standing up for God. He's standing up for life, and he's standing up for the American dream. And so I hope it's resonating with everyone.
Well, Jack, I think you're making a difference. I know some of the poll numbers I've seen in the last several days suggest that the president could get an historic black vote in 2020, could be around the 15% range. That's what we're kind of seeing now. Hey, one more question. You're a former NFL elite athlete. That's why I say elite. Intercepted a lot of passes. Played great. So last night, I'm a Rockets fan, kind of waiting for the Rockets-Thunder Game 5. They cancel it. Milwaukee Bucks walk out. No game. Turn the channel. Okay, whatever. They were protesting what happened in Kenosha. What is your perspective on that, Jack Brewer?
Listen, every man has to make decisions, and, I respect the decision. If they don't want to go to work that day, then I get it. I understand. But I think, the problem is when, you start having speech that is completely anti-American. I think when you continue to spread to our kids this victim mentality that tells them that they're basically still enslaved and that they don't have opportunity. You have, millionaires on the TV talking about how there's no opportunity in America and America doesn't love us. I mean, that's a slap in the face, right? It's the same people that, 4 or 5 years ago were celebrating America as the greatest nation because you had Barack Obama, whose father is from Kenya, elected as president. And so it's really weird to see, how you could have that big of a contrast just because the person in office doesn't have the personality you like. You're going to completely deny the policies, even though they're helping, the kids that are underserved. I mean, it's a tragedy. And I tell you what, people are seeing it, and people are understanding it, and people are not going to listen to multimillionaires play the victim. America's not going to put up with that.
I think you're right about that. You nailed it. Jack, we're out of time. I want to thank former NFL player star, defensive back, Washington, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Jack Brewer with us. He's also part of Black Voices for Trump and made a spellbinding speech last night at the Republican National Committee. Jack, that was so far of all the speeches that have been made, I put yours at the top, right? It was fantastic. Thank you.